GSM, what's happening? It's your boy Nick coming at you with week 2 of our current series, Now You See Me. Now, if you've ever been scared, you know what the typical reaction is. At first reaction, you're going to protect yourself. You jump and you put your hands up and try to hide behind something because you're not really expecting it, and that's what you would do because obviously you don't want to get hurt with whatever's jumping out at you. You jump into action and you're usually followed by, something. You grab onto somebody who's nearby you if you're in a haunted house, or if something jumps out at you, you look for the nearest thing to hide behind. And I think a similar trend happens in nature, and I think it's really kind of interesting the way that we can relate to it. The thing about certain animals is that some are just masters of camouflage, and some just aren't that great. Now, a chameleon, for example, is probably the best example of a master of camouflage because a chameleon can literally change the pigment of its skin to fit the environment that it's sitting around. It can literally change color to adapt and better hide itself from predators. Now, on the other hand, one of the animals in the animal kingdom that might not be the greatest hider or camouflager is an ostrich. An ostrich just kind of runs around, looks big, fluffy chicken with some big old man legs, and it's just real weird, right? Like ostriches are spooky. One of my favorite animals, by the way. But an ostrich is just horrible at camouflage. So you get like the lion starts running up on the ostrich, and the ostrich runs around a little bit and just pops his head in the ground. And that's it. Like, it just puts his head under the ground, and all of a sudden, like, now you're just a sitting target. Nice try, ostrich. Just because you can't see the lion doesn't mean that the lion can't see you. But you see, I think it's so funny because I think very often when we try to camouflage or we try to fit in to our environment, we might think that we're blending in like a chameleon, but maybe we're looking like an ostrich. You see, it's a really interesting contrast because perhaps when we think we're doing really well, just like the ostrich does, it puts its head in the ground and it thinks because, I can't see the problems, like, if I keep out of sight, out of mind, man, like, it's all good. But because you can't see it, doesn't mean that everyone around you can't see it. Now, in this series, Now You See Me, we're looking at 3 different parables found in Luke 15. Luke 15 is one of the greatest chapters in the whole Bible because it talks about stuff like lost and then found. Everyone likes these ideas of like one person was lost and now they're found. And last week Tim introduced us to the parable of the lost sheep, about the saying, who of you who has 100 sheep, if one got away, would leave the 99 to find the one. Now, we kind of throw this around in church all the time. Jesus would leave the 99 to find you, and that's totally true, because the fact of the matter is that once that one is found, heaven rejoices, heaven celebrates, and everybody is so hyped about it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody give their life to Christ, and I'm just so stoked for them. I'm just like, yes, man, like that's so awesome. I can't wait to see what happens in the lives of people once they give their heart over to Jesus. But this week we're going to look at what immediately follows the parable of the lost sheep, and it's the parable of the lost coin. It's found in Luke 15, verses 8 through 10, and here's what it says. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? And when she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." Just so, I tell you, there is joy before the angels of God over one sinner who repents. See, I think that this is so interesting and so cool to look at. See, recognize, like in this particular parable, the lost coin would represent us. We're so easily just kind of lost in the house. Basically, imagine there's no carpet or anything because people lived back in the day when the ground was dirt, and so you drop a coin on the floor, and just over time, the coin gets covered with dirt. We get covered up. So this woman, she lights a lamp and starts sweeping, just has this light bulb or this candle that's lit, trying to look for the gleam off of this coin while she's sweeping, hoping to get a little bit of the dirt uncover the coin so it can be seen, so you can see a flash of it. But we're not just talking about like pennies or dimes or nickels or even quarters for that matter. A one coin of silver back in the day equaled about a day's wages. So just imagine like you've lost a full day's worth of wages and you're doing what you can to find this thing. You see, the way that we represent this coin, or the coin represents us rather, is that we are valuable. All the way to the point where God would go to the extent to bankrupt heaven to get us back to him, to find us and get us back to him. He sent Jesus to save us because we are that valuable to him. Even more so than a day's wages. We're worth enough for God to send his son to die for us so that we could be in relationship with God. Now, the woman, she searches hard and turns the house pretty much upside down to find this coin. And I can only imagine that when we are lost, God seeks us in the very same way. But he's never really lost sight of us. He kind of has an idea where we are. But instead, he turns everything upside down until he finds us. Or maybe until we find him. Because that's what we're worth to him. And you see, when he finds us, he celebrates and he's stoked to have found us. It's a relief. Anybody ever have that panic moment when you lose something? Like I've done it a couple times. I highly doubt any of you responsible children have ever done this. But you ever leave your phone at home accidentally and you go to school or go to work without it? And your pocket just feels empty and it feels weird, but you don't really recognize it until you put your hand down there to reach for your phone and it's not there. And you're like, where's my phone? Like, this is not good, man. So you're stressed out all day, like just thinking, where could it be? I have no idea. But when you get home, you finally find it where you left it. And you're so relieved to have found it again. And I think that feeling of relief is likely the same feeling that God has when we allow him to find us. See, it's not a thing of God finding us. God already knows where we are. We're not going to be able to hide from God. But that feeling of when we allow him, it has to come from us. We have to allow God to find us. But when we do allow him to find us, man, that's got to be a relieving feeling. But the question still remains. The question has to be asked. Why do we think that we can play hide and seek with God? Why do we think that we can play this game with him? Realize that we're playing this game with the greatest seeker to ever exist. There's nowhere we can hide where he doesn't know. Why do we think that we can put a mask on for God? Realize that God already knows us beyond our mask. He knows what's below the surface. We don't need to put on a mask for God. See, we constantly put on masks. It's so easy because we're trying to camouflage and fit into the environment. It's so easy to just say, oh yeah, I'm just going to put on my happy face today when you're really feeling horrible on the inside. It's so easy just to put on a mask and exist within that mask and let people see you for the mask, but not really see on the inside. But the fact of the matter is that God already sees beyond that mask. He already sees what's on the inside, and there's no hiding from him. We're trying to fit into our surroundings. We think that we're a chameleon when we're really an ostrich. We put on these masks and hope we won't be found. We bury our head in the sand thinking that because we can't see what's around us, that nobody else is there, that the problems don't exist, that we're hidden, that we're camouflaged. But God already knows, and we do not need to wear a mask for him. It's easy to want to hide from God. I get it. I've done it. hiding from God is something that I think naturally want to do. It's hard for me to go to God and with these feelings like I wasn't good enough, with these feelings that I'm not worthy of God's love, I'm not worthy to be in God's presence. I have to put on a mask because I've failed. I get it. It's tough. But I put on these masks trying to act as if it never happened. And reality has it that that's just not the case. That's just not honest. See, it doesn't matter how believable the mask is that we put on, God will see through it. Your mask isn't keeping God from finding you, it's keeping you from finding God. If you're putting on a mask, you really might as well just be putting on a couple eye patches, because that's really all it's doing. It's just like the ostrich. We bury our head in the sand thinking that we can hide. But God sees us in clear sight, just like the lion sees an ostrich. He sees the ostrich in clear sight with his head in the sand, thinking, oh, smack, dude, I've got fresh ostrich dinner tonight. And it's the same thing, you guys. Our mask isn't keeping God from finding us. It's keeping you from finding God. Don't try to camouflage and end up looking like an ostrich. But hear me when I say this. Hear me when I say this. The Holy Spirit will always lead you to something better. The Holy Spirit will always lead you to something better. So take your mask off and find God. Jeremiah 29:13 says, "You will seek me and you will find me when you seek me with all your heart." You will seek me and you will find me. You will seek me. You will find me when you seek me with all your heart. So maybe instead of hiding, maybe you start seeking. In hide and seek, it's never fun to be the seeker. But when we seek God with our whole heart and with everything that we are, it says that we will find him. So I challenge you to seek God with all your heart. In fact, I dare you to seek God with all your heart. I guarantee that once you find him, once you allow yourself to be found by God, heaven is going to throw a party because God has found his child and his child has found his father, their father. Heaven's going to be celebrating, and you will see the good and the better which the Holy Spirit can lead you to. Just like the woman with a coin, using the light to find the lost coin. The lantern, the light can act as the Holy Spirit here. We can see that the Holy Spirit is what allows us to be found. So connect with that Holy Spirit. Get with him. Stop hiding and stop putting on your mask because God already seen past it. Find God. Seek God. But do it with all of your heart. And when you do, you will find him. Have a good one, you guys. We'll see you in week 3.